3 days after my wife's funeral, my daughter handed me a small brass key and said, "This doesn't open anything, Dad." Mom was confused at the end. She dropped it in the kitchen junk drawer and walked out. I took that key to First National Bank on Monday morning. The branch manager turned white, closed his office door, and said, "Sir, you need to sit down. Then you need to call the FBI." That's when I discovered what my daughter had been doing for 9 years, and I swore on my wife's grave she would answer for every last dollar. Hello everyone who made it here. Before I tell you what the branch manager showed me, drop a comment below. Where are you listening from tonight? And let me ask you something honest. Do you believe your own children would ever steal from you? That little brass key unlocked a safety deposit box holding $4, $1 million in bearer bonds, and 7 years of documentation my wife had gathered in secret. Every page was a nail in our daughter's coffin. This story includes fictionalized elements for educational purposes, but the warning is devastatingly real. My daughter tossed that key into the junk drawer on a Wednesday afternoon, 4 days after we buried her mother at Oakwood Cemetery in Asheville, North Carolina. 16 people attended the service, counting the funeral director and his assistant. My wife had been a private woman. She kept a small circle, and that circle had grown smaller every year, though I didn't understand why until it was far too late. My name is Walter. I'm 68 years old, retired civil engineer, widower, as of 11 days ago. My wife, Dorothy, was 65 when pancreatic cancer took her, diagnosed 19 months before the end, stage 3, aggressive but operable. Doctors at Mission Hospital recommended immediate surgery, followed by chemo. Dorothy said no. I begged. I pleaded. I sat on the edge of our bed at 2 in the morning and cried like a child. She held my hand and said, "I've made my peace, Walter. Let me go gently." I thought she was being brave. I thought she was tired of fighting. I had no idea she was protecting something far more important than her own life. Dorothy taught 4th grade at Claxton Elementary for 31 years. She believed every child could learn to love reading if you found the right book. She made her own bread every Sunday. She organized our closets by season. She hummed hymns while gardening, always slightly off-key. I loved her for 43 years and married her for 40 of them. I was certain I knew every corner of her heart. I was wrong about that. Our daughter, Christine, is 42, lives out in Weaverville with her husband, Mark, and their 10-year-old son, Noah. Mark sells commercial insurance. Or, that's what he told us. His job title shifted every time Dorothy asked insurance consulting, then risk management, then something about corporate liability solutions. Christine worked part-time at a boutique on Lexington Avenue downtown, though the hours never seemed to add up to what they were spending. Dorothy used to joke that Christine married a man whose income was a moving target. It stopped being funny around 2018, though I didn't know that then. Christine visited her mother 5 times during the last year of her life. 5 times in 12 months, never longer than 45 minutes. She'd sit on the couch, scroll her phone, ask surface-level questions about medications and appointments, then announce she had to pick up Noah from soccer or tutoring or whatever excuse was handy that week. She was going through Dorothy's bedroom closet when she found the key. I was in the kitchen making sandwiches nobody wanted, and I heard the jingle of metal hitting the hardwood floor. Then silence. Too much silence. I walked to the bedroom doorway. Christine was standing by the closet, holding something small between her thumb and forefinger. Her face had gone tight, jaw locked, eyes narrowed in a way I recognized from when she was 17, and I'd found vodka in her backpack. That look, calculating, measuring how much trouble she was in. "What's that?" I asked. "Nothing. Too fast. Already moving toward the hallway. Old key. Probably from a padlock we threw away years ago. Let me see it." "Dad, we've got 100 things to sort through. The landlord wants us out in 60 days. We still haven't dealt with Mom's medical bills or the life insurance paperwork. This is junk." She was in the kitchen by then. I heard the junk drawer slide open, heard the key land among rubber bands and dead batteries and takeout menus from restaurants that had closed during the pandemic. "Trust me," she said. "It's nothing." Mark called her 10 minutes later. She stepped onto the back porch to take it. voice dropping to a whisper I couldn't make out through the glass. When she came back inside, she was already pulling on her coat. Mark needs me home. Noah's got a project due Friday. Science fair. I promised I'd help him build the volcano. It was Wednesday. The science fair was 2 days away. You're leaving already? I'll be back this weekend, Dad. Saturday. I promise. We'll finish the bedroom and the garage. She was at the door, keys in hand. Just don't throw anything away without checking with me first. Okay? Some of Mom's stuff might be worth something. Antiques, jewelry. We should go through it together. Then she was gone. I heard the BMW start in the driveway, the white X5 that Mark had bought last spring, the one that cost more than my annual pension. The engine faded down Merrimon Avenue, and the house went quiet. I stood in that kitchen for a long time. The afternoon light came through the window above the sink, the same window where Dorothy used to watch hummingbirds at the feeder she'd hung from the dogwood tree. Something about Christine's face when she'd held that key kept replaying in my mind. That flicker of recognition. That split second of raw panic before the mask came down. I'd seen that face before. When she was 23, and Dorothy had confronted her about a missing pearl necklace. When she was 30, and we'd discovered a $3,000 charge on our credit card, she couldn't explain. Each time, that same sequence. Panic, calculation, smooth denial. At 9 that evening, I opened the junk drawer. The key was small, brass, stamped with a 4-digit number, 1,847. No bank name, no label, just those 4 digits. I held it under the kitchen light and noticed something I'd missed. Etched into the flat side, so faint you'd need reading glasses to catch it, were 2 letters. FN. First National. The bank on Patton Avenue, where Dorothy had kept our checking account for 30 years. The bank she'd insisted on using, even when I'd suggested switching to the credit union for better rates. Now I understood why. I put the key in my shirt pocket, buttoned it closed, and went to bed. I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling and listened to the house settle and creak around me, and I thought about my wife and all the things she'd never told me. First National Bank opened at 9. I was parked across the street at 8:40, watching through my windshield as the lights came on inside. The building was old brick, built in the 1920s, the kind of bank that still had marble floors and brass fixtures and a vault door you could see from the lobby. Dorothy had always liked it, said it felt like a place that took money seriously. I walked in at 9:02. The lobby smelled like floor polish and old paper. A security guard nodded. A teller named Patricia looked up from her computer. "I'd like to speak with the branch manager," I said. "Tell him it's about Dorothy Calloway's safety deposit box." Something shifted behind Patricia's eyes. She picked up the phone, spoke quietly, then gestured toward a hallway. Mr. Langston's office. End of the hall on the left. Thomas Langston was 55, heavy-set, with a firm handshake and the kind of eyes that had seen too many ugly stories play out across his desk. He stood. When I entered, his gaze dropped to the key in my hand before it reached my face. "Mr. Calloway," he said. "Please sit down. Your wife told me you'd come. I just didn't know when." He closed the door, locked it, drew the blinds on the interior window facing the hallway. The whole sequence took 8 seconds and made my pulse jump into my throat. "You knew about this," I said. "I did." He sat heavily. "Your wife came to me in March 2016, 9 years ago. She rented the largest safety deposit box we offer and paid for it 10 years in advance. She told me that if anyone other than her or you attempted to access it, anyone at all, including family, I was to deny the request and contact her immediately. She gave me her personal cell number." "What's in it?" Thomas looked at me for a long moment. "I think it's better if you see for yourself." The vault was cold and quiet. The box was the size of a small suitcase. Thomas carried it to a private viewing room, set it on the table, and left me alone. I turned the key. The lock clicked. I lifted the lid. Bearer bonds. Stacks of them, neatly bundled, each one issued by a brokerage firm in Charlotte. Total face value printed on a summary sheet in Dorothy's handwriting, $4,127,500. Underneath the bond sat a thick manila envelope. I opened it. Inside were bank statements, printed emails, photographs of documents, a small USB drive in a plastic case, and a handwritten letter addressed to me. Walter, my love, if you're reading this, I'm gone and you've found the key Christine tried to throw away. I know she tried because I planned for it. Everything you need is in this box. Take the USB drive to Detective Angela Morris at the Buncombe County Financial Crimes Unit. She's been waiting since August 2023. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you while I was alive. You would have tried to forgive her. Some things are beyond forgiveness. I love you. Finish what I started. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the paper. I read it 3 more times. The words didn't change. Dorothy had known. She'd planned. She'd filed a police report and arranged for an investigation, all while I thought she was losing her memory, growing confused, fading gently into old age. I went back to Thomas's office, carrying the envelope. He was waiting, hands folded on his desk. There's more you need to know, he said. In June 2019, someone submitted power of attorney documents claiming your wife was mentally incompetent. The paperwork looked professional, notarized, properly formatted. But your wife had warned us. We ran full verification. The notary's office had no record of the transaction. The signature analysis showed tracing, not natural handwriting. Who submitted them? Thomas turned his monitor toward me. A scanned form filled the screen. At the top, listed as designated agent with authority to manage Dorothy Calloway's financial affairs, was a name I knew better than my own. Christine Marie Calloway Porter, my daughter. Her address in Weaverville, her phone number, her signature at the bottom, swearing under penalty of perjury that every word was true. She tried twice more, Thomas said quietly. July and September 2019. Different paperwork each time. We denied every attempt and notified your wife. Dorothy knew about all of this. She drove here personally each time to review the flagged documents. She was sharp, Mr. Calloway. Clear-minded, deliberate. Whatever cognitive decline your family believed she was experiencing that wasn't real. The floor shifted under me. 9 years. 9 years Dorothy had pretended to forget where she put her reading glasses, pretended to mix up appointments, pretended to call our neighbor by the wrong name. She'd failed memory tests on purpose. Let doctors diagnose early cognitive decline. Let Christine believe she was harmless, confused, not worth worrying about. Because a confused old woman is invisible. And invisible women hear everything. Mr. Calloway, Thomas said, I think you need to call that detective. Detective Angela Morris was 46, sharp-featured, with the steady patience of someone who'd spent 2 decades building cases that took years to close. She met me at First National that same afternoon, briefcase in hand, and when she opened it on Thomas's conference table, I saw my wife's name on a case file 3 inches thick. Your wife contacted my office, August 9th, 2023, Morris said. Walked in without an appointment. Sat across from my desk and said, my daughter has stolen $2.3 million from me over 8 years, and I need you to wait until I'm dead to arrest her. The number knocked the air out of me. $2.3 million. Morris opened the file. Spreadsheets, bank records, highlighted transaction logs. Your wife added Christine as co-signer on 3 accounts in 2015. Christine told her it was for convenience in case Dorothy needed help as she got older. Within 6 months, withdrawals began. Small at first, 12,000 here, 8,000 there. Always below the threshold that triggers automatic fraud alerts. Always spaced weeks apart. She fanned printouts across the table. Red highlighted rows, stretching across 8 years. 15,000, 22,000, 31,000, 9,000. Steady, relentless, like a faucet left dripping until the well runs dry. By January 2024, all 3 accounts were at 0. Total withdrawn, $2,318,000. Every transaction initiated by Christine or her husband Mark, who was added as an authorized user in 2017. I stared at the numbers. More money than I'd earned in 35 years of designing bridges and water treatment plants. Gone. Drained. while Dorothy and I argued about whether we could afford to fix the furnace. Where did it go? I asked. Morris pulled up another document. Mark Porter registered an LLC called Ridgeline Consulting in Delaware in 2017. No employees, no office, no clients, just a bank account. Over 7 years, that company received $1, $4 million in consulting fees from offshore accounts linked to your daughter. Classic layering money goes out of Dorothy's accounts, through 2 intermediary banks, into offshore holding accounts, then back into Ridgeline as legitimate-looking income, money laundering, textbook, and the remaining $900,000 went directly to lifestyle expenses. The house in Weaverville, $620,000, purchased 2018, the BMW, Noah's private school at $38,000 a year, vacations, designer clothes, a country club membership that runs $25,000 annually. Morris closed the folder. Your wife documented all of it, every withdrawal, every forged document, every lie Christine told to explain where money was going. Dorothy kept a journal, handwritten, dated, meticulous. She also retrieved text messages between Christine and Mark by accessing the family phone plan account portal. Your daughter never changed the password. Why didn't Dorothy just turn her in? Why wait 9 years? Morris was quiet for a moment. She told me Christine would claim Dorothy had given permission, would say her mother was confused, couldn't remember authorizing the withdrawals. Dorothy said people believe daughters over mothers, especially when the mother is old and supposedly losing her mind. So she spent years making the evidence impossible to dispute, and she refused cancer treatment. Yes. Morris's voice dropped. The bearer bonds in that safety deposit box could have paid for surgery, chemo, everything. Your wife chose to die instead of touching that money. She told me it wasn't hers anymore. It was evidence. It was the only thing standing between Christine and getting away with it. The conference room was too small. The walls pressed in. My wife had sat in a doctor's office and turned down the chance to live because spending that money would have tipped off our daughter and destroyed 9 years of careful documentation. She died protecting the truth. She died alone with a secret she carried for nearly a decade. And I never saw it. I never saw any of it. There's someone else you should meet, Morris said. A man named Kevin Burrows, former financial advisor at Merrill Lynch, Asheville office. Christine targeted him in 2018, used a romantic relationship to gain access to client account information. When he realized what was happening and refused to help, she reported him to compliance for unauthorized account sharing. He was fired. Hasn't worked in finance since. She's done this before. At least 3 times that we've found. Christine has a pattern. She identifies someone with access, builds trust, exploits them, then destroys their credibility if they push back. Mark handles the money laundering side. They're a team. Morris stood, gathering her files. I have enough for arrest warrants. Between your wife's documentation, the bank records, Kevin's testimony. But I need to know something, Mr. Calloway. She looked at me directly. Are you going to protect your daughter? Or are you going to honor your wife's last wish? I thought about Dorothy's letter. Finish what I started. I thought about 40 years of marriage, Sunday morning bread, hummingbirds at the feeder, her hand in mine at the movies, all of it real, all of it happening while she secretly fought a war I never knew existed. When can you arrest them? I said. Morris nodded. Something like respect crossed her face. Thursday morning. They came for Christine at 6:15 a.m. on a Thursday in late April. I know because Morris called me as it was happening. I sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Dorothy used to roll out pie crust on Thanksgiving morning, and listened through the phone as my daughter's life collapsed. 4 units at the Weaverville house. Christine answered the door in a bathrobe, hair uncombed, coffee in hand. Mark was detained separately at his office, 40 minutes later. Through the phone, I heard Morris, calm and official. Christine Porter, you're under arrest for elder financial abuse, forgery, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit fraud. Christine's voice, rising. This is insane. My mother gave me access to those accounts. She wanted me to have that money. She was losing her mind. Ask anyone. Then Mark, from somewhere in the background, sharp and controlled, don't say another word. And underneath it all, quiet and confused, a child's voice. Mom? Why are the police here? Noah, 10 years old, standing in the hallway in his pajamas, watching his mother get handcuffed. I closed my eyes. Mr. Calloway, Morris said, her tone shifting. CPS is on the way for your grandson. He'll be placed in temporary foster care unless family can take him. I looked around the house. 1 story, 2 bedrooms, built in 1974. Dorothy's garden visible through the kitchen window, still blooming because the neighbors had been watering it, not built for a child, but infinitely better than a stranger's home. Tell them his grandfather is coming, I said. The trial began 6 weeks later at the federal courthouse in Asheville. Christine and Mark sat at the defense table looking like strangers. Her in a borrowed Navy suit, him in a tie he kept adjusting. Their attorney, a man named Philip Drake, tried the only defense available. Dorothy had been confused. She'd given Christine permission. The withdrawals were authorized. The family had simply been helping an aging mother manage her finances. Thomas Langston testified first. 29 years in banking. Described the forged power of attorney documents, the flagged signatures, the 3 rejected access attempts. Described Dorothy walking into his office clear-eyed and precise, warning him exactly what would happen. Kevin Burrows testified next. Described how Christine had approached him at a charity event, started a relationship, asked careful questions about client account structures, then destroyed his career when he refused to help. The prosecution's final witness was Dorothy herself. A sworn video statement recorded in Clarence-style fashion at her attorney's office in March 2023, 13 months before she died. The lights dimmed, the screen glowed, and there she was, my wife, thinner than I remembered, cheekbones sharp beneath papery skin, but her eyes burning with the same fierce intelligence I'd fallen in love with at a church picnic in 1981. My name is Dorothy Ann Calloway, she said. I am of sound mind. I have stage 3 pancreatic cancer. My doctors have recommended surgery and chemotherapy. I've chosen to refuse treatment because the money I would need is currently the only evidence in a criminal case against my daughter. The courtroom went silent. I've been pretending to have dementia since 2016. I failed cognitive tests on purpose. I let my family believe I couldn't remember my own phone number. I did this because if my daughter knew I was documenting her crimes, she would have destroyed the evidence and disappeared with the money. She paused, folded her hands. Christine, if you're hearing this, I loved you. I would have given you anything if you'd asked. But you didn't ask. You stole. You forged my signature. You isolated me from my friends. You let me die rather than risk me discovering the truth. I hope someday you understand what you took from me. Not the money, the chance to spend my last years honestly, with my husband, without pretending to be someone I wasn't. She looked directly into the camera, directly at me. Walter, I'm sorry. You deserved better than secrets. But I know you. You would have tried to fix it. You would have sat Christine down and listened to her excuses and believed them because she's our daughter and you see the good in everyone. I couldn't let that happen. Not this time. Use the bonds to help people like me. Take care of Noah. Teach him that honesty matters, even when it costs you everything. The screen went dark. The jury deliberated for 2 hours and 14 minutes. Guilty on all 13 counts. Christine collapsed. Mark stared straight ahead. Philip Drake asked for a recess. The judge sentenced Christine to 8 years. Mark got 5. Restitution ordered. $2,318,000, jointly and severally. As the marshals led them away, Christine turned and looked at me. For 1 second, I saw the girl who used to sit on my shoulders at 4th of July parades, who brought me dandelions from the backyard and called them daddy flowers, who fell asleep in my arms on the porch swing while fireflies blinked in the summer dark. Then the door closed behind her, and she was gone. Noah moved in permanently that June. We converted Dorothy's sewing room into his bedroom, painted the walls dark blue, hung a model of the solar system from the ceiling, set up a desk by the window overlooking the garden. He liked watching the hummingbirds at the feeder. same as his grandmother. He asked about his parents most nights at first, then weekly, then only when something reminded him a car that looked like the BMW, a Mother's Day card at the grocery store, the sound of a phone ringing in a quiet room. I enrolled him at Claxton Elementary, the same school where Dorothy had taught for 31 years. His fourth-grade teacher, Mrs. Patterson, had been Dorothy's student aide 20 years ago. Small world, small town, the kind of place where a woman's legacy lives in the people she taught to love books. The Dorothy Calloway Foundation launched in September. We rented a small office on Haywood Street, 2 blocks from the courthouse. Kevin Burrows volunteered 3 days a week, running the intake line, connecting victims with detectives, training bank employees to recognize elder financial abuse before accounts went dry. By December, we'd helped 26 families. By March, 41. Each case was different, but the pattern was the same. A trusted family member, slow withdrawals, manufactured confusion, stolen dignity. One evening in late fall, Noah looked up from his homework at the kitchen table. "Grandpa Walt?" "Yeah, buddy." "Was Grandma Dorothy brave?" I thought about a woman who pretended to lose her mind for 9 years, who documented every theft in careful handwriting, who refused cancer treatment so the evidence would survive, who died alone with a secret that could have saved her life. "The bravest person I ever knew," I said. "Braver than you?" I smiled. "Much braver." Noah was quiet for a moment. Then, "She left me something, didn't she? In that box at the bank." I reached into the drawer where I kept Dorothy's letter. The creases were wearing thin from rereading. "She asked me to teach you something." "What?" "Chess. She said you're smart enough to love it." Noah looked at me with Dorothy's eyes dark brown, steady, older than his years. "Will you teach me tonight?" "Get the board. It's in the hall closet, top shelf." He beat me for the first time on a Sunday afternoon in January, 9 months after his grandmother died. Moved his bishop across the board, looked up at me with a grin that cracked his whole face open, and said, "Checkmate, Grandpa." I tipped my king over. Through the kitchen window, a hummingbird hovered at the feeder Dorothy had hung from the dogwood tree. It stayed for 3 seconds, wings blurring, then vanished into the winter light. "Well done," I said. "Your grandmother would be proud." Christine has written 4 letters from federal prison. They sit in a drawer, unopened. Someday, when Noah is older, I'll let him decide whether to read them. For now, they wait. Dorothy's garden still blooms every spring. The neighbors help me tend it. Mrs. Patterson brings Noah home from school on Tuesdays and Thursdays when I'm at the foundation office. Detective Morris calls every few months with updates on cases we've helped crack open. And every Sunday morning, Noah and I drive to Oakwood Cemetery and leave a white chess piece on Dorothy's headstone. It's a ritual he started without explanation, and I never asked why. Some things don't need words. If you've walked this entire journey with me, thank you. And now let me say what I wish someone had told me 20 years ago. Don't be like me. Don't let love make you blind. Don't assume your children are above theft just because you raised them right. I spent 40 years married to the most remarkable woman I've ever known, and in her final decade, when she needed me most, I saw nothing. She fought alone because she knew I'd choose peace over justice. She was right, and that's a weight I'll carry until the day I join her. If you're caring for elderly parents, check their bank accounts. Every month, ask the hard questions. Demand transparency. Don't let anyone, not a son, not a daughter, not a spouse, manage finances without oversight. Financial elder abuse happens every single day in this country, and it almost always comes from inside the family. Dorothy refused hundreds of thousands of dollars in cancer treatment to preserve the evidence of her daughter's crimes. She died in our bedroom while I was at the pharmacy picking up medication she no longer needed. That's my burden. That's what silence costs. So I'm asking you honestly, have you checked on your parents' finances lately? Have you looked at who has access to their accounts? If you were in my shoes, what would you have done differently? If this story opened your eyes, share it. Someone you know needs to hear this warning tonight. Subscribe to this channel for more real lessons through powerful storytelling, because truth matters most when it hurts. Drop a 2 inches the comments if you stayed until the very end. I want to know you're out there. One last note. This story blends real patterns of elder financial abuse with creative storytelling elements for educational impact. The characters and specifics are fictionalized, but the warning is urgent and real. Protect the people you love, even from the people you love.